All right, so you're here because you want to know which one's better, the 420 or the 316. Here's my first question to you. How big is your property? Because the answer will be right in front of you, somewhat, because your budget also comes into play. But if you have a large property, I'm going to estimate about 5 acres or bigger, you're definitely going to want to go with that guy. The 316 is probably suited for 5 acres or smaller. Now, you could get the 316, but it wouldn't be as capable, and it'd take you longer to do whatever you have to do on your property because, simply put, that guy can handle more. I'll dive into that here in a second. First thing I'm going to address is size. There's definitely a difference. The frame width, that guy's larger by, you think, 3 inches, 2 or 3 inches. So implements from this one cannot fit that one. Not in the least bit. You can make them fit just like anything else, but at that point, why would you? You're just ruining good implements. Go find one that'll fit that guy. It won't kill you, trust me. That, and it's easier probably to put on than making your own. So, tire size, those guys, I believe, are 6 by 16 by 8s. I probably got that wrong, but the tire size for some reason is not on that tire. That one, however, is. It's an 18.5 by 8, so those are not 6s. I think those are 16 by 6 by 8s or something like that. I am sorry. I will put them in the description box while the video is going. Anyways, rear tires on the 316 are 23 by 10.5 by 12s. These guys are 26 by 12 by 12s. You can cross put tires on each size. Those are 12-inch rims. Those are 12-inch rims. That tire will fit on that rim. That tire will fit on that rim. But you're going to have a mower deck clearance issue if you put anything larger than 23 by 5 or 23 by 10.5s. You could maybe get 25s under there. It's going to be really tight. You're going to be rubbing against the mower deck if you have one. It's not going to be fun. So if you want more flotation, a little bit bigger tires, there's your answer right there. If that's all it is for you, but I'd hope it's not. Anyways, weight, dry, this one's about 800 pounds. I'll go to Tractor Data or something and get your specific weight. I'll put it down. That's dry, no fluids, fresh from the factory. No weights, nothing extra, just the tractor. 420 is about 1,000 pounds, maybe 1,100. Once again, dry from the factory. I'm going to say it's 1,000 because I want to go with the bottom number instead of the upper number. I want to play it safe on that one. And simply put, that guy can handle larger attachments. Definitely. That's a must. Simply because the frame is larger, which I think that accommodates why the tractor is so much heavier, is the frame size and a couple extra things they threw on. Moral of the story, this one comes with a 60-inch deck. That's what's on it now. That one's a 50-inch deck. That one could be ordered with a few different models of deck, smallest being a 38-inch, highest being a 50-inch. This one can do 50 or 60. This one will use a gear drive edition of that guy instead of a belt going from the pulley up on the front of the engine, the PTO basically. It goes to a mule drive and then turns the belt to the pulley back there where it is all pulley operated on the deck for your spindles. Same with that guy. I'll get into the actual drivetrain, though, on the PTO operation on this guy. Belts are all fun and games until you get into the thick stuff. You might start throwing belts. I'm not saying these guys aren't capable. I've seen people that have gone through grass higher than the tractor and still cut it. But I would rather have a shaft-driven implement for something like that. And that brings me to this one. These are shaft drive. PTO still is similar design up front, different PTO though, I can tell you that just from looking at it. It goes from the PTO through a belt tensioner to a pulley. That pulley has a front spline on the front. Right there. Little bitty divot for your PTO shaft to come out from. If you have a, we'll say you have a snowblower in the front, it runs off a shaft. That's covered by a cover right now, which I need to get off of there and grease it up, put it back on. This mower deck, shaft drive. There's the gearbox right there. That means you'll be able to take a little bit taller grass, probably thicker grass, with ease. And honestly, I prefer the shaft drives anyways. If you were to get a 50-inch deck for this one, that's kind of rare to find anyways, but if you do, it's going to be that exact same shell design. It's going to be basically that mower deck, but with that gearbox on it and its own PTO shaft. That's the difference. That one's belt drive for the 300, shaft drive for the 400. That's an important thing to know. All right, now on to hydraulics, which is going to probably tie into the drivetrain too, because it's a hydrostatic transmission. Both of these are hydrostatic, standard. Doesn't matter. They'll both come with a little bitty lever right here. Well, not so little bitty, but they come with a lever. Move it forward to go forward. Neutral's there. Reverse is that way. They may creep, but that's in a whole nother video. Sometimes they creep. Just uses a little bit of adjustment to fix that. But this one contains H1, one lever. That's your hydraulic. That's your deck lift, basically. Excuse me. Pull back on it to pick up the mower deck or pick up the lower implement. Push forward to drop it down. That operates, if you were to get one, a 3-point that runs off a rock shaft back here. You can put a 3-point on either of these. They're both compatible. Doesn't matter. I would rather use that one just because of the weight factor. It helps with the 3-point implement. But you can use it on this guy too. Up front, you may have seen the couplers for your hydraulics right there and there on the front frame. There's one, there's two. There's one, but where's the second one? The second one's missing simply because of the fact that it does not have another route through the hydraulic system. There's only one lever, so there's only one coupler. It's easy. It's honestly as easy as that. It's an H. The Deere fans or enthusiasts will call this an H1 system or one hydraulic spool system. There's one lever. It basically controls every function on the tractor besides the drivetrain itself. All your lifts, front, middle, and rear. This guy, on the other hand, this guy has 3 of them. This one in the middle operates your mower deck. The catch is, it also operates your 3-point. But the front is split from the, excuse me, my throat was getting kind of scratchy there. That's why I was talking a little erratically. But that middle one controls your deck and your 3-point. Same thing as that one. Forwards, down, back is up. It messes with the 3-point the exact same way. Forwards, down, so on and so forth. Now, this guy, the front end is split from the rear when it comes to the hydraulics. This one is your left coupler, forward and reverse. Really, that depends on how you hooked it up. I can't tell you definitively what it's going to do. But this one, kind of crucial. If you have a blade on the front, that'll be down, that'll be up, and that one has a float, which what that does is it lets the implement down, and it opens the valve and leaves it open so that the fluid can move freely back and forth through it from the cylinder. And it's as it sounds. It floats over the ground and picks up and lowers with the ground. And you don't have to move the hydraulic lever one bit. It's good for rock smoothing and stuff like that, dirt flattening out dirt, backfilling. That's another video for another time if that ever gets requested. But the float is handy. And as I said, left coupler on the left side of the tractor. You will always address the tractor when you're facing this way. Left side and right side, facing the front. So if I ever say left side, I mean this side. Not your left side on the camera, which would be that way. Okay, next topic, steering. That also ties in with the hydraulics. Excuse me again. This one has a hydraulic power steering. It's fully hydraulic. Not a single bit of mechanical linkage other than a steering wheel. Important thing is hydrostatic steering. This is the cylinder. These are your hydraulic lines right there. It comes from a hydraulic motor. This moves all your stuff. It's a little bit finicky at idle, but once you got some RPMs in there and the pump's spinning, producing pressure, power steering's flawless. If you have a good machine, it's flawless, as well as your front end being adjusted, but that's a whole nother story. Once again, this one as mechanical steering. It's set up the same way, but where's your steering cylinder? Well, that's because it's all mechanical. It's all gear driven instead of with a hydraulic fluid and a cylinder. There's a gearbox up in the frame there, and it pops out. That arm sticks out right there, goes to this other arm after the greasing joint, which you need to grease these. That's important. Goes up to the front to this guy and operates the same way as the power steering does, albeit it's controlled differently because it's mechanical. It's all gear drive. Relatively easy to steer, but that's because it's on rock. So, honestly, if I was picking power steering or mechanical steering, I would pick power steering. Only if I was doing more than mowing with it. If I was just mowing with it, I would use mechanical because there's no need for hydraulic power steering. More to go wrong. And sometimes the frames crack right back there on the mounts for these power steering cylinders. That's nothing to shy away from, but I would check that if I would go look at your tractor. And that's another thing I want to address about frame cracking real quick. Sorry for the jumping camera. The rock's not exactly the most stable. But these guys have a tendency to crack right there, and sometimes up front, but more than likely right there at that bolt. I had a parts 420 that did exactly that. That's why I parted it. That's why it shook you to death too, and I didn't like it. The 316, frame's good on that one. These guys don't have a likeliness of breaking as these do, probably because of the 2-speed, which is something I'm going to address here in a second. But these guys, frame rarely cracks on them. If it does, it's probably been put through hell and back. So, yeah. All right, so to tie in with the drivetrain and the hydraulic systems, this is more or less turned into drivetrain now because that's pretty much all the hydraulics you're getting. These have a 2-speeds. They have a low speed, which is on the left with the turtle, and a high speed, which is on the right. These also have a true neutral. And to shift these, you push down and pull back to you. Like, it'll fold back into the middle a little bit. Oh, wow. Usually it doesn't... Wow. This thing's really liking me today. Usually it does not shift on me like that. But it's in neutral right now. That's high. And that's low. I may have to get on it and move the lever a little bit while it's running to get it to pop into the gear. But it's got a high speed and low speed. This one does not have that. You can swap transaxles into these because the rear end, I believe, is the same width, so those two will interchange. But you're going to need to find the linkage and make your own brackets on the frame and whatever else you have to do with that. I've never swapped one, so I don't know. But the high speed and low speed, the 2-speed right there, is missing on these. 4 series, that comes standard. 300 series, no bueno. Another thing that the 4 series has, the one exception is the 400. The 420 and up all have a diff lock. So you press down on this pedal while you're moving. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of finicky. You got to get used to it, but it's really easy. All you got to do is stomp down on that pedal just right. And both these wheels lock up, and it'll send you to wherever you want to go. That's very handy. That kind of ties in with the brakes, which is another thing. The 420s all have dual brakes. The 318s have dual brakes, and I don't have a 318 because technically that's the man in the middle. This is an economy tractor. That's the nice, fancy, big guy edition, we'll say. You got a lot of money to spend, basically. This one's, I just need to mow, and that's it. But I would like the ability to go and work with it, too. That has independent brakes that you could lock together as they are now. And this one just has a single brake for both rear wheels. They're both drum brakes. They're both reliable if you adjust them. The adjustments are right up in there. Right there. Right there. That's what they are. Really, that's about it for all the drivetrain. And from here on out, it's pretty much just features. That's left. So, I'm going to address the engine real quick before I finish the features. And the fuel system as well. 420s all come standard with a 6.5 gallon tank under the fender pan. Those guys, the 300 series, all come standard with a 4.5 gallon tank. This guy will definitely last you longer because the fuel consumption for these is right at the same. There's really no difference. This one I can mow in my entire 11-acre property without running out of fuel. That one I just barely make it. So it takes me probably 6 hours, 5-6 hours to mow this one. 11 acres. That guy probably takes me about 6 to 7. They're fun regardless because it's really cool to mow with these guys. It's just relaxing to me, honestly. You may call me a freak for that, but some folks will get that, some folks won't. Some folks hate mowing, some folks like it. I like mowing. It's just me, the machine, in the yard. But at any rate, this includes an Onan P220, 20 horse Onan engine. Fuel consumption's decent. It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst for a gas engine. They're opposed twins, so one cylinder's coming this way, and one's over here doing that. Relatively simple explanation of that. They work wonderful. I'm more of a fan of these than I am the V-twins for some reason, because these just produce more torque. This one has an 18 horse, on the contrary to that number. An 18 horse P218G Onan 18 horse engine. I've said that over and over, but I want to bore that into your head. But listen close. The early series of these tractors, they changed a little bit of stuff on them in 1987, and it went for all models, all Onan models. So the 316, the 318, and 420. All of them got an electronic ignition upgrade. Basically, a different engine with electronic ignition, which is down there. And they went away with the points, the condenser, and all that crap, which I hate because I've just had bad luck with them. But that changed. I think the air cleaner changed, which I'll put in the video, the differences in the angle, the contour on this here. You can tell if it's a B-series engine or if it's P-series just by looking at that. Sometimes they've been swapped, but I highly doubt they would ever be swapped. Surefire way is to check the tag. If not, more details on the engine will tell you. But at any rate, very good engines, decent on fuel consumption. That one's obviously going to last you longer because you have a bigger tank. Real quick, I'm going to address this. 316s and 420. Pretty much every garden tractor John Deere made came standard with an hour meter after 1987. And for forehand, the hour meter is optional on those tractors since it's the economy edition. This one has it too. I'm just not going to show you. It's in the same spot. This one, tying in with the fuel system, has a 3-way position fuel on-off. That one does not. If you look over there, right above my finger, that little hole in the dash panel there on the side, that's where it would be. So the fuel selector right now is on just the fuel on. Going up to the center, pointing up, is going to be fuel off. Right there is reserve. What that does is it gives you 15 extra minutes or so, give or take, of run time so you can get back to the house and fill up before you're stranded there and have to run back to the house to get a gas can. That one does not have it. Everything from a 318 up, though, does have it. Mind you, from this era, from 1983 and up. Like the 317 from 78, 79, and then pretty much anything older than that will probably not have that. But once again, that's a whole nother video. And I think at this rate, it's just down to lights and a couple other things, if I can think of them. But these all count standard with the headlight up front. So does the 316. 3 lights, 1, 2, 3. Flip up the hood, pop them out, put new ones in. I have LEDs in the front of them now. They make a big difference. You can buy them on eBay. These, the 420s, the 318s, pretty much any tractor bigger than the 318 is going to have taillights. The 316 is the only one that does not. Little fun fact, the John Deere 330 is the diesel variant of this 316. That's the only difference. The 330 has the diesel engine, the 3-cylinder Yanmar, and it's water-cooled. That's the only difference. It's just a 316 in disguise otherwise. Manual steering, I mean, everything. There's no difference. It's the same thing for the 420. 430s are just a diesel, longer, 3-cylinder diesel, water-cooled, Yanmar, same thing. And that, I'm just going to say this. The 330 corresponds with the 316 in features. The 332 corresponds with the 318 in features. I wish I had a 318 to show you guys because that'd be the ultimate comparison video, but I don't, sadly. I'm going to quickly address this. The roll-up seat. I'm pretty sure all 420s have this, but the 316 and 318, they don't. But don't run off yet. These tractors all have roll-up seats after 1989. So if you find like a 1989 or above, up to 92, they're all going to have the roll-up seats. These all, I'm going to cover the safety switches real quick, too. They all have a safety switch in the seat. Both of these are bypassed. That's up to you. That is your full opinion. That's your safety disregard, whether or not you want to use the safety switches or not. I'm fine with the seats being disconnected simply because if you're sitting on it or not, it's kind of handy to roll off to the side here and move it while you're standing off, but very rarely do I do that. Another safety switch is in the neutral right there. Right in that neutral pocket, there's a switch. The 89s and before, 1989, by the way, was a little bit of a revision year as well, more or less. A couple things were very slowly changed. Like the switches in the neutral safety pocket, I can't move that, but there's a switch as well in there. I can't press that because its brakes are locked. But it also has a safety switch. This one has a brake switch. That one does not. Once again, another 1989 or 1990 upgrade. Side panel fins, as I'm going to call them. There's little panels right here with that, all these holes punched into them. Those are removable in 1989 and later, like this guy right here, except it's laid over on its side for these. 316, 318, 420s, same. I don't know about the older 420s. I think the older 420s still have removable screens. These all have, the 316 and 318 both have belly pan screens, which I will show you here. Right up under there. Mine needs to be clean, obviously. I should have cleaned it. I'm probably going to before I start mowing with it because I'm not going to start mowing with this guy first. This one I will. I've gotten it ready. But this one also has a belly pan. Keyword pan, not a screen. This one does not have holes in it, and it is pretty much sealed up. Has an indent for the gearbox, so when the deck lifts, it goes up, so it doesn't hit the transaxle or anything. But little difference, but they both have a belly screen / pan, depending on the model. 420s will have the pan. 316, 318s all have the screen. That is very important. Keep the screens and pans on them. Keep all your shrouding on them. Real quick, all of these, I can't move the hydro lever. Why? Because the brakes are locked. And when it's in this down position, after you've pressed on the pedal and held it down, if you push down, or you should just be able to pick it up off of there and drop it, and you should hear a click and it locks. But when the brakes are pressed or locked, I can't move the hydro lever. That's a safety feature. So if you slam on the brakes, that hydro lever is going to come slamming back down. I can show you on this one because it's not locked. But if you pick this guy up and drop it down there, it clicks and it's locked. You press it down further than the click or the locking position, lift it up, and it's free again. Now, when it's free, you have the ability to move it. So we'll go pretty much close to the top. That's what happens. Safety feature. It's actually really handy. Can be a nuisance. And on the dual brake tractors, both of them have, they both have to be pressed in order for that action to occur. Otherwise, that does not happen. If it happens, something's wrong with your brake linkage. Easy as that. Or it needs to be adjusted, wherever comes first. Probably something's wrong with it, because I don't really ever hear of issues with that. So there's a couple optional features on here I would like to address as well. Wheel weights and the 3-point. Both tractors can get it. Wheel weights, The 400 series have starter weights, which go inside about flush to this flange right here, this first one, with the level with the actual rim and the inner pan. But there's a starter weight you can put in there. They're, I think, about 75 or 100 pounds. They're heavy. And then from there on, you can put these weights on them. These weights are cast iron weights. They are, I believe, 60 pounds, 55, that's right, 55 pounds. I'll double check. If not, I'll correct it. But they're bolts-ons right there and there. This is in the outermost position right now. I think it's right about 54 inches. This is in the outer position, and I think I'm well over 60 inches. Never mind, I'm a dumbass. 60-inch deck, not 60 inches. I'll probably guess about 50 then. And then this one's probably 46, 45 inches. That's measuring from outer edge to the tire to the outer edge of the tire. You're supposed to measure it, I think, between the middle of the tire / rim to the other middle of the rim / tire. But I'm not going to, because honestly, who cares? I care about the actual width of the machine overall versus the inside tire, sorry. But that's wheel weights, tires. The 3-point is another handy thing you could have gotten from John Deere. That one has the capability to put it on, but I'm not going to, since this one already has it, and they come with the factory. They come with a top link. Good God, I can't speak. Stick me in front of a camera, I suck. Stick me in front of people, I suck. But this is very handy. I got to find implements for it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to find a 3-point trailer hitch / weight hanger so I can put suitcase weights on there and just weight it down. I don't have the right length of bolt for this to have wheel weights on it right now, so this won't get wheel weights. If it gets weights, it's probably going to be in the back because those are handy. You just pick them up and off and you lose weight, instead of having to get back there in an awkward position and putting wheel weights on. But at any rate, that's probably it for this video. And I'm going to ask you a couple questions. What suits you? I made this video to show you the differences between economy and fancy. What are you going to choose? Why I asked them is because you need to get the right equipment for your property. I kind of covered this in the intro. Typically, that tractor is going to be suited for bigger acreages, bigger stuff, because of the implements. The implements are much larger on these, since they're shaft-driven especially, but they're larger to handle bigger stuff, more snow, more yard. That's what it translates into. This guy can handle moderate-sized properties, probably 5 acres and under. You could easily stick a 316 in that guy's territory. It just wouldn't do as good. And if you're going to spend the extra few bucks, you might as well go for that guy. I spent about $1,900 at an auction for this guy, the 60-inch deck, and the 4-way blade. It's a Model 54 for the 420. I spent about $750 on this guy for the mower deck, the 50-inch, and the tractor itself. The wheel weights actually came with the 420, so I also got a set of 55-pound wheel weights with it, which those usually sell for about $120 a pop, roughly, on average. Not all the time, though. But if you want to spend $700 on a decent tractor, or if you want to go all out and spend about $2,000, depends on the tractor, depends on its quirks. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I could list off about what makes the price. But the price is how much you want to spend on the tractor and what your needs can the tractor, what can the tractor fit for your needs, basically saying. Since I've owned that 420, I've changed the oil, put a filter on it, which is probably right around the $35, $40 ballpark. I put a new muffler on it, which is not fun to change, but once you do it a couple times, it's not that bad. I've greased it all up. I've basically done simple maintenance. I've cleaned the underside of the mower deck. It'll take a few hours of your time and a little bit of cash, but other than that, this one's treated me well. Same for the 316. One thing I need to fix, though, that is majorly wrong with it is that it has a transmission input shaft seal. that's leaking on the hydro pump. On the hydraulic pump, that's a pretty typical thing to fail on these, whether it's this one or that one. The rear ends on these and the hydraulic pumps are exactly the same, other than the fact, excuse me, that the transaxle in a 420 or a 430 has the high-low diff lock, and the axle housings are wider, which is just that little bitty guy right there. 316, they're not very wide. That's a Peerless 2300. That's a Peerless 2600. They're made by Tecumseh. Very good transaxles. I've never known of one failing before. Now, I may hold my breath on that one, or I may not want to. I don't know. Depends. I've never heard a story on somebody blowing them up, and I've been in the groups for a good while now, so. The reliability on the engines and transmissions are absolutely bulletproof. Some may disagree on the Onans because they drop valve seats if they overheat. The flyball spacer in there is another thing for concern. They will over-rev on the P-Series models, the P220, P218, those models. They have a plastic flyball spacer in there which runs the governor. And if you're at full throttle, sometimes out of nowhere, once the engine gets warm, you're at full throttle, it may start picking up on the RPMs out of nowhere. But if you really just want to, you can back the throttle down and it'll do the same thing as running wide open then. But that entitles pulling the engine. But so does the input shaft seal change. You still got to pull the engine anyways. I got off track there, but maintenance is not too bad on these. I'd rather do it to them than those older tractors like back there by a long shot. I think these are easier to upkeep. Definitely money-wise, I've had more interest in keeping these running than that one because I've dumped more into that 212 than anything else. I don't have much else to say. It's really up to you. I just came here to point out all the features and tell you what they can do and what they can't do. If I ever find a time where they can't do something, I'll make sure I tell you. But other than that, that's up to you to figure out. So, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, the like button. Do it for the dog. Do it for the doggo. But it shows me whether or not you like these videos or you dislike the videos. Have a great day. Or night. Whoa, hold it. Video ain't over yet. I'm just going to showcase the power steering on these, or steering for this guy. Not too bad. A little difficult. Not bad, though. Get off. Get moving. You can steer it. Okay, so we're on the 420 now. My idle for this tractor is incorrect. I can adjust the choke and get it to run about idle. That's if it wants to, because it's cold out. We'll call it there. That's the high-low movement. I can't really show you a diff lock. I'd have to get into a right situation with that one. Man, that is something I will admit. If you want to go and get a workout while you're mowing your yard, buying a 316 is the best way to go because it will give you a workout for sure.